You can't escape. The hand holding my chin was trembling, but her eyes were burning with a mad glint. I'm just an ordinary person. How did I get mixed up with the daughter of a corporate magnate? She'd wait at my door in the middle of the night, holding out hot soup. Finish it, or I won't be able to sleep. My colleagues all said I'd hit the jackpot with women. Only I knew that she... The first time I saw Nan Shui was in the hallway of a KTV during a department team-building event. She was alone, leaning against a fire hydrant, smoking. A black dress, her skin dazzlingly white. In her hand, she fiddled with a very old bronze lighter. I took a second look, because the way she held her cigarette was particularly strange. She held it between her index and middle fingers, but her little finger was raised, as if holding a teacup. What are you looking at? She suddenly turned to look at me. Her eyes were dark and deep, devoid of light. Nothing. Just thought your lighter was rather unique. I pointed to the rust-spotted thing in her hand. She looked down, caressing the engravings on the lighter. It's a family heirloom. Want it? I had no reply to that. Just then, a colleague called my name from inside our private room. I nodded at her and left. It was only after I got back to the room that I realized I'd forgotten my cigarettes. I pushed the door open and went out again. She was still standing in the same spot. In her hand, she held a clear plastic bag. Inside were my cigarettes and lighter. You dropped this. She held it out. The plastic bag was tied shut, wrapped up tightly. Thanks. As I took it, my hand brushed against her fingertips. They were frighteningly cold. Your hand is very cold, I said. Anemia. She pulled her hand back and put it in her coat pocket. Want me to warm it up for you? I froze for a moment. She had already turned and walked away. The hem of her dress swept across the hallway carpet, making no sound. The second time I saw Nan Shui was in the company elevator. She stood in the corner, wearing noise-canceling headphones. In her hands, she held a copy of A Brief History of Metallurgy. I'm sure she saw me, but her gaze swept right past me, as if looking at thin air. The elevator reached the 17th floor, the marketing department. She took 2 steps out, then stepped back in. She tucked a fruit candy into my suit pocket. To compensate you, she said. For what? I asked, dazed, holding the candy. For touching your hand yesterday, she said, pointing to the back of my hand. It's not right to take advantage. The elevator doors slowly closed. She stood outside, waving at me. Her lips formed the word goodbye. I tossed the candy into a drawer and thought nothing of it, until I was working overtime late at night. My stomach ached with hunger, and I broke into a sweat, so I unwrapped it and ate it. It was so sour it made my eyes squint. There was a line of small words on the inside of the wrapper. Hour 17, and you still haven't eaten. Nan Shui started to appear in my life with unnerving frequency. She would stand behind me in the cafeteria line. Your collar is crooked. She reached out and straightened it for me. Her nails were trimmed short, brushing against my skin. We ran into each other at the supermarket 3 times on weekends. Her shopping cart was filled with mineral water. You only drink this brand? I asked. It tastes like your blood. She picked up a bottle, holding it up to the light. I was speechless. The most frightening incident happened one morning before dawn. I went downstairs to take out the trash. She was crouching by the flower bed, feeding a stray cat. A thermos sat by her feet. Angelica chicken soup. She lifted the lid to show me. You've been staying up too late recently. How did you know I've been staying up late? A chill ran down my spine. Your study light is on until 3. She ladled a spoonful of soup and held it out to me. Want some? Or are you going to call the police first? I actually pulled out my phone. Her eyes suddenly lit up. You stayed on the dialing screen for 11 seconds. You can't bear to do it. I asked a colleague in the administration department about Nan Shui. The new marketing director parachuted in from headquarters. My colleague lowered their voice. The chairman's granddaughter. Don't mess with her. When I got home that night, I found a cardboard box at my door. It wasn't signed. I opened it to find a gray scarf. It was hand-knitted, the stitches crooked and uneven. Tucked inside was a note. It's gotten windy. You'll get sand on your neck. I sat in the entryway holding the scarf until midnight. Finally, I sent her a text. Thank you, but please don't do this anymore. 3 minutes later, I received a reply. I sewed my hair into the threads of the scarf. It will hurt me if you break them. I jerked the scarf open, holding it up to the light to look. Sure enough, There were several long strands of hair woven in. At the part that would wrap around the neck, they were wound into coils, like some kind of pact. At the company's annual party, Nan Shui sat at the main table, black backless dress, drinking alcohol like water. Midway, she went on stage to play the guzheng. Guangling San. At the most intense part, a string snapped. It struck her collarbone. A bead of blood seeped into the fabric. She finished playing without a change in expression. As she came off the stage, she passed by me. She dropped the blood-stained string into my wine glass. "A gift for you," she said. The colleagues around us were all laughing, thinking the director was drunk. Only I saw her fingertips trembling. When the party ended, she cornered me in the parking lot. "Where's the string?" I asked. "Soaked it in wine and drank it." She laughed. The tip of her nose was red from the cold. I took the string out of my pocket, already wiped clean and coiled into a small loop. "You should go to the hospital for your wound." She grabbed my wrist and wound the string around my ring finger. "You've accepted it. Now it's my turn to ask for a gift. What do you want?" I tried to pull my hand away. She held on tighter. "Your apartment key." Her white breath puffed onto my collar. "Or I go home with you now." Finally, the spare key was given. The condition was that she must see a therapist every week. She immediately made an appointment for the next day's session and set a screenshot of the appointment confirmation text as my phone's wallpaper. Satisfied now? She dangled the keychain. "Can I go to your place to sleep now?" "Just to sleep?" That night, she really slept on my sofa until dawn. I got up in the middle of the night for a drink of water and saw her curled up in a ball, clutching a shirt I had left there. Her breathing was light and rapid, as if having a nightmare. I covered her with a blanket and noticed an old scar on her ankle, shaped like a chain. In the morning, she burnt the pan while frying eggs. Holding the blackened plate, she smiled at me. "Tomorrow will be better." Nan Shui began to enter the inner sanctum. Every Wednesday, she came to my house to make dinner, even though she couldn't even tell the difference between green vegetables and chives. "Why Wednesday?" I asked. "You buy discounted rice balls at the convenience store every Wednesday." She counted on her fingers. "The beef flavor is the best seller, but you don't like it because you hate the diced carrots inside." Once, she cut her hand while chopping vegetables. She stared at the bead of blood for a long time. Suddenly, she put the finger in her mouth. I jerked my hand back. "You can't do that. It's salty." She licked her lips. "It tastes the same as in my dream." From that day on, I locked all the knives in a drawer. When she found out, she bought a set of children's safety kitchen utensils, a plastic knife that couldn't even peel an apple. One late night during the plum rain season, she was soaked when she knocked on the door. In her arms, she held an iron box. "The lighter is gone." Her eyes were frighteningly red. "You said it was unique." I let her in to dry her hair. She knelt on the floor, rummaging through the iron box, spilling out ticket stubs, medicine bottles, a piece of broken jade. Finally, she picked up a photograph. It was her, around 10 years old, dressed in a hospital gown, standing under a rose trellis. Her wrists were wrapped in bandages. "He lied to me." She pointed to the silhouette of a person cut out from the corner of the photo. "Said he would be with me forever." I made ginger tea and handed it to her. Suddenly, she grabbed my wrist. "You won't lie to me, will you?" "I won't," I said. She let go of my hand and smiled. "It doesn't matter if you lie to me. I'll just turn you into a specimen and keep you in my bedroom." I was away on a business trip for 3 days. When I came back, I found 7 new surveillance cameras in my home. She was sitting in the living room, waiting for me. In front of her were 3 monitors. I didn't install any in the bathroom. She raised her hands. "I swear." "Take them down." She silently dismantled them until midnight. In the end, she left the one in the study. "Can I just watch this one?" She knelt on the floor, looking up at me. "I can't breathe when you're not here." I unplugged the power cord, but didn't remove the camera. The next day, she brought over a pot of pot hose. It perfectly blocked the camera's view. Whispers and rumors circulated through the company. They said I was getting a promotion through nepotism. At the morning meeting, Nan Shui turned on the projector. She played the project report I had done last year. "If anyone's performance can reach this level." She closed the file and scanned the room. "I'll give up my position right now." After the meeting, I followed her into her office. "You didn't have to do that." She was taking anti-anxiety medication, swallowing it with cold water. They were saying bad things about you. I was not happy. I don't care, I said. But I do. She grabbed my sleeve. You're the only reason I have to live. The label on the medicine bottle read, Dependent Personality Disorder. I brought a cake to her apartment on her birthday night. The walls were covered with my photos. Some I had never even seen myself. The kindergarten performance. The university debate competition. A team-building event for my previous company. Are you scared? Her hand was steady as she lit the candles. A little. I looked at the different versions of myself on the wall, like a dissected specimen of a life. After she blew out the candles, she said softly, Actually, you broke your arm in the 3rd grade because you were helping me get a kite. We were living in the same sanatorium back then. Something deep in my memory was loosening. A little girl in a white dress, always hiding in the shade of a tree, folding paper boats. You remember now, don't you? Her eyes were surprisingly bright. You said you would marry me when we grew up. I began to have chaotic dreams that a childhood that smelled of disinfectant, a mother who was always crying, and a girl who was always folding paper boats. Why did you leave the hospital back then? Nan Shui waited for me outside the psychiatric clinic. My mom remarried. I looked at the dessert shop across the street. My stepfather said mental illness is hereditary. She let out a soft sigh. She folded the diagnosis sheet into a paper boat and tucked it into my pocket. Now you know, my illness is not contagious. That night, her fever rose to 39 degrees. She clutched me tightly, not letting me call an ambulance. If you leave, you won't come back. Just like that year. I placed a towel on her forehead. She suddenly started to cry. The kite string broke. I've been looking for you for a whole decade. I took the day off to go with her to the cemetery. She laid flowers before a blank tombstone. I prepared it for myself. She patted the stone. If you don't want me, I'll lie down in here. On our way down the hill, she bought 2 sticks of cotton candy. She bit mine into the shape of a star. Is it sweet? She asked. Too sweet, I said. She leaned in and licked the sugar from the corner of my mouth. Just right now. Passing tourists smiled at us, as if we were an ordinary couple. No one knew she had euthanasia pills in her pocket. The label on the bottle bore my name. The company assigned me to a new project. I needed to be stationed in another city for 2 months. After hearing this, Nan Shui calmly helped me pack my luggage. She even portioned out my toothpaste for daily use. She was unusually quiet when she drove me to the airport, until the broadcast urged passengers to board. She suddenly grabbed my boarding pass. Don't go. Her eyes were incredibly red. Or take me with you. A flight attendant came over to ask what was happening. Nan Shui immediately let go and smiled. Have a safe trip. She took 2 steps back, standing perfectly straight. Before the plane took off, I received a text message. There's a surprise in the interlayer of your suitcase. I opened it to find a box of handmade cookies. Each one was baked in the shape of a key. The frosting read, Come home. The project was ahead of schedule. I came back a week early. No one was home, but there was a new note. At the hospital, don't come looking for me. Outside the ward, I heard the doctor speaking. This self-harming behavior must be controlled. Otherwise, she'll need to be committed. When I pushed the door open, Nan Shui was removing her gauze. The wound on her left wrist had over a dozen stitches. When she saw me, she hid her arm behind her back. I accidentally broke a glass. I walked over to check the wound. The sutures looked like a centipede lying on her pale skin. It started the day after you left, she confessed in a small voice. I just had to count to 7. 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 years. I bent down and held her. She stiffened for a moment, then suddenly burst into tears. I've tried everything, and my life is still a joke. Not a joke. I wiped her tears. A miracle. She moved in with me temporarily after being discharged from a hospital. Every morning, she would squeeze the toothpaste for me. The amount was precise to the millimeter. This way, you won't suddenly disappear, she explained, holding up the toothpaste tube. One night late, she shook me awake. Give me your hand, she said in the dark. I reached out my hand. She slipped a ring on it. It was wound from that broken string. A proposal, her voice trembled. You can say no. Why now? I felt the dry blood on the ring. I just dreamed that you were old. She leaned on my shoulder, feeding cats in the yard, and I wasn't there with you. I turned on the lamp to look at her. 2 tiny me's were reflected in her pupils. Okay, I said. She was stunned for a long moment. Suddenly, she got out of bed barefoot and ran outside. I'm going to get my household registration book. Her voice drifted in the stairwell, like a sparrow that had finally found its home. The summit city was in the south, the air damp and heavy. On the plane, she took the window seat, and I took the aisle. Through the curtain, I could hear the rustle of her flipping through documents. The flight attendant gave me a couple of extra glances when she brought our drinks. Probably because the atmosphere in our row was too strange. Have you read the materials? She suddenly asked. I nodded. I had memorized the conference schedule and important points 3 days ago. Don't be nervous, just follow my lead. After she said that, she put on a mask. I stole a glance at her. Her jawline was relaxed. Different from usual. A private car picked us up upon landing, taking us directly to the hotel. The front desk clerk said, Ms. Shun's suite is on the 28th floor. Mr. Zhang's standard room is on the 12th. She was in the middle of signing, and her pen paused. Change it to one suite, the kind with 2 bedrooms. The front desk clerk checked the system. I'm sorry, Ms. Shun, the only suites left are the executive king-size bed suites. That'll do, she said, finishing her signature and turning around. Let's go. I followed her into the elevator, my palms a little sweaty. The room was huge, with a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the river. She pointed to the bedroom. You sleep here? Then you. I have work to do. I don't need a bed. She pulled open the living room curtains. If anything happens, I can find out immediately. The reason was flawless. That night, she really didn't sleep, holding a video conference in the living room. When I came out after my shower, she was just finishing her call. Hungry? She asked, looking at her screen. Let's order something to eat. Room service brought up congee and side dishes. We sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, eating our late-night snack. The cruise ships on the river were lit up like a flowing river of stars. When I was little, my dad used to bring me here on business trips, she said suddenly. I didn't say anything, waiting for her to continue. He always said that the strong must learn to enjoy solitude. She stirred her congee. But now I think it's not bad to have someone with you. The spoon touched the side of the bowl, a soft clink, like a heartbeat. There was an industry dinner on the second day of the summit. As an entourage member, I had to wear formal attire. She had prepared a dark blue suit for me. The size should fit. She looked me over, go on. I changed in the bathroom and came out. She was putting on her earrings. Seeing me in the mirror, her movements paused for a moment. Turn around. I spun around. Your bow tie is crooked. She walked over. Her fingers touched my chin, adjusting the strap. Her breath grazed my collarbone. There. She took a half step back, her gaze a little unfocused. At the dinner, she seemed like a different person. She moved with ease among the various figures. I tried to minimize my presence, standing near the buffet table. A representative from a foreign company came over to chat. Are you President Shun's new assistant? Security. Interesting. The other party smiled. She never brings male employees to this kind of occasion. I took a sip of juice and didn't reply. After a while, Shun Gi beckoned to me. This is the summit chairman, Mr. Li. She introduced me, my security consultant, Zhang Lian. Mr. Li's handshake was firm, young and promising. As she spoke, her hand rested lightly on the small of my back, like a declaration of sovereignty. Halfway through the dinner, the lights dimmed. People began to dance in the ballroom. She suddenly asked, Do you know how to ballroom dance? No. I'll teach you. Before I could refuse, she had already pulled me onto the dance floor. When I placed my hand on her waist, I almost moved my hand and foot on the same side. Relax. She led me, follow my rhythm. We became the center of attention. Or rather, she was the focus, and I was the backdrop. A lot of people are looking at you, I said in a low voice. Let them look. She let us spin. You're not a bad dancer. I'm stepping on your feet. On purpose. There was a smile in her eyes. When the music ended, the applause was enthusiastic. She whispered in my ear, Remember, you're the one I brought. Her breath was scorchingly hot. There was an accident on the last day of the summit. During the group photo, a man suddenly rushed onto the stage. He was holding a bottle and went straight for Shun Gi. I subconsciously stepped in front of her. The security guards quickly subdued the man, and the bottle fell to the ground. It was paint, a false alarm, but she kept gripping my wrist, very tightly, her nails digging into my skin. In the car back to the hotel, she said nothing. Only after we got in the door did she explode. Who told you to block it? I froze. What if that was sulfuric acid? What if he had a knife? Her voice was high. Your duty is to call the police, not to take a bullet. There was no time. Then let me get hurt. Her eyes were red. What if something happened to you? After that sentence, the air suddenly fell silent. She turned away, her shoulders trembling slightly. I had never seen her like this. President Shun. Geet. She didn't respond. I gently touched her arm, and she suddenly turned and hugged me. A very forceful hug, as if to press me in her body. Don't let there be a next time. Her voice was muffled on my shoulder. Don't. My hand hovered in midair, finally landing gently on her back. Okay. She didn't work that night. We sat on the sofa and looked at the river view. She had a little to drink, her head resting on my shoulder. Jiang Lian. Do you hate me? No. So you like me? I didn't answer. She chuckled lightly, her breath brushing against the crook of my neck. That's enough. When I returned to the company, everything seemed the same, yet everything seemed to have changed. She no longer deliberately kept her distance. When delivering documents, she would naturally say, "Your sleeve is wrinkled." On rainy days, she would have her secretary prepare an extra umbrella for me. The gazes of our colleagues changed from curiosity to acceptance. Even old Wang said, "Shun has finally fallen for you." One day before the end of work, she sent a message, "Wait for me in the garage." When I arrived, her car was already running. "Get in. I'm taking you somewhere." The car drove out of the city and finally stopped at a cemetery. She took out a bouquet of white chrysanthemums. Today is the anniversary of my mother's death. I followed her to a tombstone. The woman in the photo looked a lot like her, with gentle eyes and brows. She put down the flowers and stood for a long time. The wind blew her hair like a black flag. She also left because of pheromones, she said suddenly. I looked at her. My dad's pheromones made her allergic, so severe that she needed to be hospitalized. She caressed the tombstone, but they were in love and couldn't bear to be apart. Later, her mother's health got worse and worse, and she passed away when she was 10. So you think pheromones are a curse? They used to be. She turned to me, "Until I met you." On the way back, she drove very fast. Her fingers gripped the steering wheel tightly. I might have inherited it from her, she said suddenly, paranoid, possessive. For example, the surveillance camera in your dorm, I installed it. I slammed on the brakes. The car stopped on the side of the road. The woods were pitch black. When? The first day you moved in. She looked ahead, living room, bedroom, not the bathroom. I should have been angry, but I was actually counting the camera locations. Why are you telling me this? You can resign. She handed over a check. Fill in any number you want. I didn't take it. Or stay. She turned to me. But there will be no more secrets in the future. The car lights swept across her profile, revealing a fragile determination. Drive, I said. Her eyes dimmed for a moment. I choose the second one. After the matter of the surveillance was brought out into the open, things became surprisingly relaxed. She no longer observed me in secret, but watched me openly. When I was on patrol, she would look up from behind the glass window of her office. When our eyes met, she wouldn't look away. Once, when I was changing into my uniform in a locker room, I heard old Shun shout, "Jiang, Xiao, Shun has been in such a good mood lately." My hand, which was buttoning my shirt, paused. I heard the board of directors try to introduce her to someone last week, but she told them directly that she already has someone she's interested in. Another colleague laughed. It couldn't be someone from our department, could it? I looked down and put on my shoes, my ears burning. When I went to her apartment that evening, she was reading a financial report. "Come here." I walked over and she grabbed my wrist. "Why are your hands so cold?" I rode my bike back. She tucked my hands under the hem of her sweater, pressing them against her lower abdomen. "Warm them up." Her skin was very hot, and my fingers curled involuntarily. "Come with me to the old family house tomorrow," she said, flipping through a document. "It's a family banquet." In what capacity? In what capacity do you want to go?" I didn't speak, my fingers gently pressing against her. She sighed. "As my boyfriend. Is that okay?" The last words were very soft, as if she were afraid of being rejected. "Okay." The family banquet was calmer than I had imagined. Her father was very serious, but he nodded at me. Her cousin, Shunku, was also there, scowling the entire time. After dinner, in the study, her father said, Gue-e is like her mother. Once she set her mind on something, she never looks back. The old man looked at me. Are you ready? I glanced at her outside the door. She was arranging flowers, her fingers gently adjusting the petals. So focused, as if she were handling some priceless treasure. I'm ready. In the spring, the company went mountain climbing for a team-building event. She wore sportswear, her hair in a ponytail, looking like a college student. Our colleagues deliberately walked ahead, leaving the two of us behind. The mountain path was steep. Her stamina wasn't as good as mine, and she was panting slightly. I reached out my hand to her. Our palms were sweaty. I couldn't tell if it was hers or mine. When we rested at the mid-mountain pavilion, she leaned against my shoulder. Tired? She closed her eyes, but happy. On the way down, we came across a stall selling love locks. She bought one and had our names engraved on it. Cheesy, I laughed. I want to be cheesy. She hung it on the railing and tossed the key into the valley. The click of the lock was crisp and clear. At the dinner that evening, she had a little to drink. I walked her back to her room. In the elevator, she leaned against me. Jiang Lian. Do you love me? In the elevator mirror, our reflections overlapped. Yes. She smiled, like a child who had just gotten candy. The next morning, I found the key to the lock in her pocket. Didn't you say you threw it away? I lied, she said, buttoning her shirt. I couldn't bear to truly lock you up. I took her hand and placed the key back in her palm. Then lock me up. Her eyes lit up for a moment. Then she shook her head. No. She threaded the key onto a chain, making a necklace, and put it around her neck. This is better. You are free, and I am willing. There was a business reception one summer, a very formal one. She wore an evening gown, and I wore the suit she bought me. Before we went in, she straightened my bow tie. Nervous? A little. Just stick with me. She held out her hand, and I took it. Our palms met, warmth mingling. At the reception, many people came to greet us. To each, she introduced me, my boyfriend, Jiang Lian, no longer with any prefix. A man with slick back hair and a powdered face came over, saying he was her university classmate. Guati, I heard you found yourself a security guard? Her smile faded. Your sources are well informed, Mr. Lee. It's fine to play around, but don't get serious, he said with a wink. In our circle, we value a good family match. She raised her wine glass. I thought she was going to splash it on him, but instead, she looped her arm through mine. A good family match? She gave a light laugh. The person I choose is my standard. The man walked away awkwardly. When she went to the restroom, I was surrounded by a few executives. Little Jiang, I hear you're quite the kickboxer. I've had a few years of training. No wonder you were able to win over President Shan, someone said with a meaningful smile. I replied seriously, that's not how it was. Then how? It was the warm milk every morning. It was holding her hand tightly when she had a nightmare. It was the willing compromises we both made. But I couldn't say the words. She returned and rescued me. What are you all talking about? We're complimenting your good taste, I said, putting my arm around her waist. She stiffened for a moment, then leaned into my embrace, like a bird returning to its nest. On the hottest day in August, she had a fever. She refused to go to the hospital, so I had no choice but to go to her house to take care of her. The thermometer read 39.5 degrees. I fed her medicine, and she rubbed her face against my palm. Jiang Lian, if I become unreasonable, will you leave? For example, not allowing you to talk to girls, checking your phone, and putting a GPS on you. The hand I was using to wipe away sweat stopped. Why put a GPS? I'm afraid of losing you. She was delirious from the fever, her words slurred. You're all I have. I lowered my head and kissed her forehead. I won't get lost. After she fell asleep, I noticed her phone was still on. The screensaver was a photo of us when we went hiking. She was smiling happily. Below was a line of small words, my light. I held her hand tightly, as if I were holding the entire summer. In the autumn, she went on a business trip for 2 weeks. We video chatted every day, her background always a hotel room. Miss me? She asked, the tips of her ears slightly red. I did. How did you miss me? My stomach. Eating alone isn't the same. She laughed, her eyes curving into crescents. On the last day, she came back early without telling me. I returned to the dorm after work and found the light on. She was wearing an apron, cooking instant noodles. "Welcome home," she said. The kitchen was a mess. Eggshells on the counter, flour in her hair. "What are you making?" "Longevity noodles," she said, pointing to the mushy stuff in the pot. Though I failed, only then did I remember it was my birthday. "How did you know?" "The date on my resume was fake." "If I want to know, I can find out," she said, wiping her hands. "The gift is in the bedroom." It was a tie, the same color as her dress. "To tie you down," she said, her fingers nimble as she tied it for me. I looked down at her eyelashes like butterfly wings. "Shungi. Let's get married." The knot of the tie got stuck halfway. She looked up, her eyes wide. "You say that again." I said. I knelt on one knee, taking out the ring I had prepared long ago. "Marry me." She looked at the ring, then back at me. Suddenly, she started to cry. "You can only cry after you've accepted the proposal," I said, wiping her tears. "I do," she hugged me. 100 times I do. It started to rain outside as we ate the mushy instant noodles in the kitchen. The diamond ring on her ring finger sparkled, like a promise. After the proposal, she became a little delicate. She used to twist her ankle without a word, but now she needs a Band-Aid for a small cut from chopping vegetables. "Kiss it better," she said, holding out her finger. I lowered my head and blew on it, and she smiled. "Jianglian, you're spoiling me." "Then be spoiled." I continued chopping vegetables. "I can take it." The wedding was set for next spring. She planned every detail herself, even choosing the font for the invitations. Once, I woke up in the middle of the night and found she wasn't in bed. The light in the study was on. She was looking at venue photos. "Why aren't you sleeping?" "I'm afraid it's all a dream." She leaned into my arms. "I'm afraid I'll wake up and you'll be gone." I held her tighter. "It's real." The week before the wedding, she took me to see a therapist. "Premarital counseling," she explained my issues. "I need a professional opinion." The therapist was a gentle, middle-aged woman. "Miss Shun's anxiety has improved a lot." I was stunned. "She didn't tell you?" The therapist was a little surprised. "She's been in treatment for the past year." After we left, I looked at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want you to worry," she said, kicking at a pebble. "I wanted to get better, to be worthy of you." The setting sun stretched her shadow long. I took her hand. "You're already the best." On our wedding day, she walked towards me in her wedding dress. The veil was lifted by the wind, like a banner of happiness. When the officiant asked for our vows, she spoke first. "I do." All the guests laughed. When it was my turn, I looked into her eyes. I gave you my answer a long time ago. In every morning coffee. In every late-night wait. In every come home for dinner text. She cried with a smile, and I lowered my head to kiss her. Amid the applause, I heard her say, "I've got you. My light, my destiny, my slightly broken but incredibly lovely wife."